Negativity is our tendency to give more weight and attention to negative information or experiences than positive ones. We humans have this unique, somewhat confounding inclination to focus on the bad, the wrong, the negative more than the good, the right, the positive. Imagine for a moment a scale in your mind. Now, for every positive event that happens in your life, you place a golden feather on the positive side. But when something negative happens, you place a heavy stone on the other side. What do you think would tip the balance? That single heavy stone of negativity can easily outweigh those golden feathers. Our brains are hardwired to give more attention to negative experiences over positive ones, and it indeed has a lot to do with our survival instincts. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in a world filled with immediate and tangible threats, animals or hostile members of other tribes. For them, paying close attention to potential dangers and remembering those unpleasant experiences was a matter of life and death. Over time, this tendency to focus on negative events become etched into our neural pathways, leading to what we now know as the negativity bias. This bias is essentially a survival mechanism that has been passed down through generations. In our brain, the amygdala, an almond-shaped structure, plays an important role in emotional processing, particularly in response to fear and anxiety. When we have negative experiences, our amygdala springs into action, alerting us to potential threats. Those negative experiences are then stored in our long-term memory, courtesy of the hippocampus, allowing us to remember and react more quickly to similar threats in the future. Well, the negativity bias was incredibly useful in our human history. It can be less helpful in the modern world, where threats are not typically as immediate or life-threatening. We remember and process negative facts, experiences, personality traits, or even words with greater clarity than their positive counterparts. It's like our brain is a sponge that soaks up negativity more readily, holding onto it, not letting it seep out easily. The villain in the story stays with us longer than the hero. The sting of a harsh word lingers longer than the casual compliment. We feel a sting of disappointment when someone fails to keep a promise. That sense of betrayal can be quite overwhelming. However, when someone fulfills their promise, it's almost taken for granted, barely eliciting appreciation. Here is a scenario. You settle down after a long day, switch on the television or click on that news app on your phone. And what do you find? Stories of political discord, seismic disasters, disease and pandemic, war-torn regions, displaced refugees, gun violence, raging wildfires, terrifying floods, unexpected shark attacks, and horrifying terrorist attacks. It's filled with despair and chaos, isn't it? The world suddenly morphed into a dark, violent arena. Have you heard of a saying about media? If it bleeds, it leads. But before you blame media, let's pause and think. Is it solely the fault of the media? Or could it be that we are the willing participants as well? That's right. As much as it pains me to admit it, we too are attracted to those harrowing tales when the world is so full of positivity and uplifting stories. Politicians are seasoned actors in the drama of negativity bias. Their carefully crafted rhetoric, high on drama, does a fantastic job rallying support and capturing attention. Fear, they know, is a potent tool that can bypass our rational mind and directly tap into our primal instincts. They stir up fear, create divides, and make use of labels as a convenient shorthand to group people, be it race, nationality, political affiliations like liberals, conservatives, or religious labels like Muslims, Jews, Christians. Those labels, while helpful to quickly categorize, do not capture the complexity of every person in a group. Do you still remember in-group bias I introduced in my earlier video? Perhaps it's a survival instinct from ancient times when differences meant danger. If you've grown up in a homogeneous environment, being fed information from just one source or heard stereotypes about those who looked or thought differently from your own family and small social circle, it's no surprise that you might view outgroups with anxiety, fear, and mistrust. However, remember this. The less you know about people from an outgroup at a personal level, the easier it is to fear them, and the stronger the negativity bias takes root in you. On the other hand, the more you get to know those so-called them at a personal level, the more you realize they're just like you, a blend of virtues and vices unique to all humanity. After all, we all share the same social identity, being humans. Within organizational hierarchy, it's common to see leaders overlooking diligent employees who consistently go the extra mile, given more than what their role requires, without a word of appreciation. However, the same leaders are often hawk-eyed when it comes to penalizing those who fall short of their responsibilities. Our behavior is shaped through a delicate balance of punishment and reward. And thanks to negativity bias, we tend to respond more strongly and learn faster from negative feedback compared to positive reinforcement. Here is an experiment. You're quizzing a group of people on a particular topic. In a positive feedback environment, each correct answer means a marble added to a jar. In a negative feedback setting, we start with a jar filled with marbles. Every incorrect answer means a marble is taken out. Despite the marble count being identical for correct and incorrect answers, the learning curve is steeper in the negative feedback environment. Why? Negative feedback, much like those dark storm clouds, commands our attention, casting a long-lasting shadow on our memory. On the other hand, positive feedback, similar to a pleasant sunny day, it's comforting, but does not leave the same indelible imprint. Negativity bias is applied to commercials and advertisements. Have you noticed the commercials painting a grim picture of poor health habits seem to impact us more than their gentle, positive counterparts promoting good habits? It's like a dark thunderstorm of dire consequences grab our attention while the soft sunshine of health benefits seem too gentle to provoke a response. Think about it. Those advertisements for home security systems showing intruders breaking in, computer backup services warning of devastating data loss, deodorants magnifying social embarrassment, or insurance advertisements highlighting potential calamities. They stick with us, don't they? Now, here is a question for you. Why should people enjoy hanging out with you? You might have a long list of your positive traits at your fingertips. However, it's a sobering reality that what stands out more vividly in the minds of your friends and family are your missteps. Those misplaced words, broken promises, unwarranted criticism, and habitual tardiness echo louder in their memory than all your good qualities. If you are looking to build strong relationships, consider this. Negative experiences have a stronger effect than positive ones. It's like trying to balance a scale. Well, a single negative event weighs as much as 5 positive ones. So if you've upset a loved one, merely doing one nice thing is not going to balance the scale. To truly make amends and tip the balance, you need to follow a 5-to-1 ratio of good deeds to bad. One wrong move may need 5 acts of kindness to counterbalance it. How does negativity bias influence our decision-making process? In an unfamiliar situation, we naturally respond to anxiety by shrinking and simplifying our choice set. It's an automatic reflex and instinct to reduce uncertainty. Our brains have evolved to be a prediction organ, constantly trying to make sense of the world by making predictions of what will happen next based on the available information and past experiences. This predictive nature helps us navigate our environment efficiently and make decisions fast. Uncertainty poses a challenge to this predictive process because it introduces ambiguity and makes it difficult for the brain to make accurate predictions. When faced with uncertainty, the brain seeks to reduce it by gathering more information, making assumptions, or relying on existing patterns or biases. This is why uncertainty can often be uncomfortable and unsettling, and our brains work very hard to reduce uncertainty. Unfortunately, the pursuit for certainty often oversimplifies complex issues down to starkly contrasted black and white extremes. It's like we're viewing the world through a dichotomous lens. Do you still remember dichotomy bias I introduced earlier? A leader grappling with stress is particularly prone to falling into the negativity bias trap. When we are under stress, our body releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol that triggers our body's fight or flight response, preparing us to either confront the threat or flee from it. The stress hormones increase our alertness and arousal levels, serving an essential purpose in keeping us safe from immediate dangers. But they also make us susceptible to the negativity bias. Adrenaline and cortisol narrow down our focus on potential threats or negative aspects of a situation. This is why, when facing stress, we default to more simplistic black and white thinking patterns. The stress hormones also help prioritize memories that are related to the stressful event, making them more accessible in our minds. Negative experiences and outcomes tend to have a stronger emotional impact and are more likely to be encoded and remembered vividly. This selective memory process can reinforce the negativity bias because negative memories are more readily available for retrieval. As we age into the 60s and beyond, the negativity bias starts to wane. We start seeing silver linings more frequently, turning our gaze towards the brighter side of situations. The neuroscience behind this shift lies in our amygdala, the brain region acting as a command center for negative emotions. Interestingly, this region begins to shrink with advancing age, attenuating its influence over our emotional responses and inviting a newfound optimism into our perception of the world around us. In organizations that make high-quality decisions, vigorous debates and disagreements are common. No leader is an all-knowing prophet. If you find yourself frequently reacting defensively or dismissively to different perspectives, it's a glaring red flag signaling a potentially toxic organizational culture. In innovation-driven organizations, expressing different opinions and advocating for the broader stakeholder interest rather than simply pandering to leaders or select committees, it's not just welcomed, but seen as an important requirement for promotion. The logic is simple. If your skills are confined to pleasing your boss or select few, you are hardly fit to rise through the ranks in an organization that's truly dedicated to serving the interest of all stakeholders. Resilient organizations are adept at handling vigorous debates and even heated conflicts. For them, they are not points of tension, but necessary elements of collective learning that improves their decision quality. Debating differences and dissenting views preempts the pitfalls of groupthink and tunnel vision. However, if you observe a culture where everyone strictly stays in their lane, refusing to voice concerns, even when witnessing blunders elsewhere, it's a clear sign of dwindling motivation. Without motivation, you are doomed to endure uninspiring, soul-draining meetings, reluctant to contribute constructively. You may shrug off ill-advised decisions as above my pay grade, or even refuse to defend decisions you fundamentally disagree with. In this case, leaving the organization either through retirement or by securing another job becomes an increasingly appealing escape route. Here are some reflection questions for leaders. Have you inadvertently created an environment where dissent is unwelcome? Have you discouraged team members from playing the role of devil's advocate? When was the last time a subordinate or someone with less power than you pointed out a flaw in your decision? How do you resist the trap of negativity and the temptation to lash out with sharp criticism? The antidote is simple. Count your blessings. Celebrate the many things that are going well. Pay attention to the beauty and kindness that surround you. Practice gratitude. Be forgiving of minor transgressions from others and give them the benefit of the doubt. Keep your distance from relentlessly negative people. Instead, choose to associate with people who radiate positivity and constructive attitudes. Tune in to music that uplifts your soul and infuses your day with positivity. As much as negativity bias is part of our psychological makeup, awareness is the first step towards managing it. Remember, you can control and redirect where you pay attention. Start observing your decision-making process and those of others around you. See if you can spot instances of negativity bias. Please feel free to share your comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.